Flowey Is Not a Good Life Coach by Unrestedjade. Chapter 3. Just Like That. Papyrus had always had excellent control over his magic. Even Undyne said so, and as the extremely cool and strong captain of the Royal Guard, she would know about such things. Not that Papyrus lacked confidence in his abilities, but confirmation that he was great was nice all the same. He liked using his magic. He loved making gracefully rolling waves of lovely bones and sculpting intricate, baffling patterns for his would-be opponents to navigate. His sense of honor precluded any underhanded tactics. He liked to think that as a fighter he was tough, but fair. He always knew exactly how much damage each attack would do if successful. That was why it was so upsetting to see what remained of Undyne's practice dummy after his last attack. Bits of musty old stuffing floated through the air around them like snow. Splinters of wood and bits of burlap were embedded in the cavern wall. "Oh no," he muttered to himself, raising a hand to his mouth in alarm. "Oh yes," Undyne hooted and clapped at his side. "I'm sorry, Undyne," Papyrus said, as he was swept up into a crushing bear hug. "I'll get you a new one." Undyne spun wildly, making Papyrus dizzy despite the lack of an inner ear. "Who cares about the dummy? That was hardcore!" Papyrus braced himself for the suplex he knew was coming, but Undyne merely set him down decisively back on his feet and affectionately headbutted him. "Woo!" Yeah, woo," Papyrus said, unable to muster up much excitement. "I sure did some property damage, all right." He rubbed at his forehead. She'd restrained herself. It would only ache for a couple hours. "Hell yeah, you did!" Undyne jogged over to the wreckage that had been, up until a couple of moments ago, her outdoor training salle. She ran her hands over the crack in the wall, exclaiming over how deep it was. Bits of stuffing and rock settled in her ponytail and stuck to her gills. She coughed to dislodge them. "Man, that dummy got wrecked!" Guilt-ridden and disturbed at what he'd done, Papyrus moved forward to start cleaning up. Undyne was of the opinion that bigger was better pretty much all the time. Some things, like parties and spaghetti recipes, she was absolutely spot on about. Magic was one matter where Papyrus found himself in disagreement with her. She valued pure strength over everything else. He believed, strongly, that it was more important to make sure that magic only did exactly what its wielder intended. Undyne's attacks had all the subtlety of a brick wall, and as awesome as she was, sometimes Papyrus worried that one of her wild barrages of spears would end up hurting someone. He really didn't mean to hit that hard. What if it had been Undyne standing across from him instead of a dummy? He looked down at the bundle of splinters and torn fabric in his arms, suddenly ill. He didn't want to hurt anyone. Undyne marched over and slapped the splinters out of his arms. "Hey, don't worry about that, Paps. But I want to get a picture of the impact zone to put on the fridge, so let's just leave it for a while, yeah?" She surveyed the mess again, puffed up with pride. Well, there was really no point in arguing with her. It was her yard. "Okay, if you don't mind." Undyne wasn't listening, staring hard at the crack in the wall and stroking one of her facial fins in deep thought. Finally, she turned smartly on her heel to face him. "That's it! I've made my decision." Papyrus looked from her to the mess he'd made and back again, not making the connection. "You've really buckled down this past month. Don't think I haven't noticed how hard you've been working," she said, folding her arms and pacing to and fro in front of him. "To be honest, I was holding out on making you a guard because I wasn't sure if you could take care of yourself. No offense," she said. "I'd feel like total crap if I sent you out unprepared and you got hurt or something." "I understand, Undyne." Truthfully, Papyrus was a little offended, despite her not meaning any offense. The thought that she didn't think he was tough enough to handle himself stung. Undyne went on. "But you've really proven how serious you are about this, Papyrus. After seeing the burning, righteous passion you showed me today, I feel like it just isn't right for me to deny your dream anymore. You've got the right stuff." She grasped Papyrus's shoulders with both webbed hands. "You're in, buddy. I'm swearing you into the Royal Guard right now." "Undyne, Papyrus trailed off as his mind caught up with his hearing. "What? Really?" This was happening now? Joining the Royal Guard had drifted from the definitely soon category into the vague someday category a long time ago. Undyne shook him back and forth like the Underground's biggest maraca. "Yes, really?" she laughed. "You can start screaming and jumping up and down any time, Paps." Papyrus said, shaking her off as politely as possible. "That wouldn't be very guardly behavior." He was happy about this, right? This was his dream. He should have been screaming and jumping up and down in a very cool way right now. But he wasn't. I'm super stoked, Undyne, really, on the inside. He didn't really know how to feel. Whatever part of him had been responsible for the whole joy business had been blocked off. Undyne nodded. This cool facade that hides the tempest in your soul, I can respect that. Just don't get too stoic and brooding, she said, stabbing a finger at him. That's my style. The great Papyrus would never bite his friend's style, Undyne, sir. Ooh, that might not go over well. Ma'am? No, that was even worse. Commander? Aw, come on, you could just keep calling me Undyne. Undyne waved dismissively, chortling. So, you ready to get sworn in, or what? Papyrus jumped. You mean, we're doing this now? Like, now? Undyne rolled her eyes. Well, yeah, why wait? Now stand up straight, this shit's serious. Papyrus snapped to attention. Undyne's posture didn't change, but something about her manner immediately shifted in a more captainish direction, stern and commanding. Dang, she was cool. Do you, Papyrus of Snowdon Town, she said, in suitably gruff tones, solemnly swear on your very life to fight for King Asgore and the monster race, to uphold justice, to defend the innocent and wimpy, and to seriously kick evil's ass 12 ways from Sunday everywhere, all the time, from now until you're dead in the cold, cold ground? I do, Papyrus answered, swept up in the grandeur of it all. Half a second later, he realized he said the thing people said at weddings instead of the thing people said when they were joining holy orders of justice and peace. Frick. Excellent, Undyne said, either not noticing his mistake or being awesome enough to let it slide. Okay, that's it. You're a guard now. She punched him on the arm. Papyrus had been expecting a little more, but the induction ceremony wasn't important in the face of being a real, actual guardsman. Wowee! He rubbed at his sore arm, tentatively happy for the first time in a month. Even though the feeling was already beginning to fade, it felt really nice. He clung to it for as long as possible. Tomorrow I'll get you kitted out, all right? Undyne grinned, flashing her mouth full of pointy teeth. Papyrus flinched back, just for a second. Yes, he said, the conditioned response falling from his mouth before he could think. Undyne didn't notice, thank God. Right, well, you'll want to tell your brother the good news and get your party on with your Snowdon buddies, so we'll call it good for the day. I gotta find some armor to fit your skinny ass, she screeched with laughter. Ah, I'm so pumped for you, Paps! Papyrus's yell bounced off the low ceiling and close walls. The road from Waterfall to Snowdon was all but abandoned in the evenings, and there was no one to hear him cry out. Under any other circumstances, he would have been relieved by that no monsters had witnessed his loss of composure. Flowey smiled brightly up at him from where he'd popped up at Papyrus's feet. Papyrus longed for a crowd. He should have taken the ferry. He should have done anything but take the road alone at night. Hey there, Flowey said. Did I scare you? Gee, I'm sorry. You simply startled me, that's all. Papyrus's hands twitched. The mere sight of Flowey these days left him feeling like he ought to be holding a bone club. I'm not scared of you. It was hard to tell what would upset Flowey, but Papyrus remembered him saying that he didn't want Papyrus to be scared of him. He would do his best to put forth the impression he wasn't. He was. Oh God, he was. He liked to think himself brave, but the past month had flayed bravery down to bare self-preservation. Flowey smiled wider, and Papyrus relaxed by a small fraction. That had been the right answer. I'm glad, Flowey said. How was your training session, champ? Anything major happen? Papyrus suspected that Flowey knew full well how his practice with Undyne had gone, but he couldn't accuse the flower of spying on him. Good, he said, fumbling with the hem of his cape. I'm a god now, so that's good. Oh! Flowey bounced on his stem. That's great news, Papyrus. She changed her mind, just like that? He winked. Guess I'm a pretty good coach, huh? Yeah, Papyrus said, hope kindling in his chest that even he knew was unlikely. So mission accomplished? We can go back to normal and chill and talk about neat stuff? Or part ways forever? Papyrus would be more than fine with that, too. Flowey blinked in a near approximation of confusion. Aw, friend, you're more ambitious than that. This, he said, is just the beginning of your career. You can do way better than being just a lowly guardsman. He should have known it wouldn't be that easy. Any lingering happiness from his time with Undyne withered away. Flowey hummed tunelessly to himself, thinking. Papyrus stood by and waited patiently. Sometimes Flowey liked to be asked what was on his mind, but sometimes he didn't. Humming was usually a cue that Papyrus should be quiet. I think, Flowey said, Once he'd reached the end of his train of thought, "We should move our special practice to tomorrow night, yeah? You deserve a night off for doing such a good job." "Thanks, Flowey," Papyrus said. The reprieve was unexpected, and he was grateful for it. "Aw, you're welcome, friend. You should just relax and enjoy yourself tonight, okay?" Flowey beamed up at him. "Just don't stay up too late. I want you to be good and rested up for our new training regiment." "Right." Papyrus waited to be dismissed, but Flowey wasn't leaving. Oh, and I sure hope that wasn't a load-bearing wall you put that big honking crack in. Gosh." So, he had been spying. "Yeah," Papyrus said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know how that happened. It kind of got away from me." Flowey's leaves rustled. "Nonsense! You're just getting stronger, that's all." "Sure impressed me. Undyne, too," he giggled. "Boy, it's a good thing you two weren't sparring today, or she would have gotten hurt real bad, huh?" The words speared Papyrus's worry from earlier and dragged it back to the front of his mind. And that's when Flowey decided to leave, sinking down into the ground to wherever it was when he wasn't topside. Papyrus was left alone in the cavern, staring at the small disturbance in the dirt that was the only sign Flowey had been there at all. He took a few minutes to calm his nerves before getting underway again, listening to the babble of the river and the soft rustle of seagrass in the breeze. Part of him wanted to run the rest of the way home, but he forced himself to walk. Once he got home, he was going to have to tell his brother the good news, which meant he would probably get dragged out to Grillby's, where he'd have to have drinks and laugh and be confident and fun for several hours. The thought alone made him want to shut himself in his room for the rest of the night. And tomorrow was another day.